Welcome back to another electrotechnology video. In this video, we're going to look at how to do two-way switching. This is always something that students get confused. It does take some time to remember, so let's have a look at it. Two-way switching. This is when you have a light fitting that can be turned on by two different switches. So maybe you have a hallway or a staircase where you have one switch at the top of the staircase and one switch at the bottom of the staircase, and you can turn the light on and off with either. This is quite simple, however, it's very easy to make a mistake, especially when you're very first learning it. So I'm going to explain how to do this today. I'm not going to go through the entire wiring of a light circuit. I've done that already in another video. So if you haven't watched the video on how to wire up lights, please do so, because I'm going to skip a lot of that. I'm literally just going to talk about and show you how to connect the two-way component of that switching. So I have my board and I have my light fitting here, or my baton holder. It is already hooked up to my RCD and my earth point. What I need to do this is I need a twin TPS, like I would have used for just wiring up a normal light, but I'm going to use this somewhere else today. I need one single insulated, double insulated cable, or SDI, single double insulated. And I need another single double insulated. So I need 3 new cables outside of my supply active, neutral, earth cabling coming from the board. I'm going to need 2 switches. So I have one switch here, and I have another switch. Now, the first thing I have to do is I'm going to take one of my SDI cables, and I'm going to connect this to my active. So if I was wiring up a normal light switch, I'd have a twin and I'd run the active from that twin to this wire down to the switch. This time I'm just going to run one single wire, not 2. Okay, so I have now put my single double insulated cable to my light fitting down to my first switch. This point, I'm now going to use my twin, and now I'm going to call this, instead of just calling this twin, I'm going to call this the straps. So these strap cabling are going to go between the 2 switches. So this will go from switch number 1 to switch number 2. Like so. With that in place, now I need another SDI, and this SDI is going to go from switch number 2 back to my light fitting, and this one will get connected to where I would have connected my white switch wire if I was doing just a normal switch. So it's going to go to the active terminal in the back of my light fitting from my second switch. So I'm going to wire that up, and then we'll talk about how this goes together inside the actual switches themselves. Okay, so my single SDI for my first switch is connected to my supply or my feed active, the permanent active coming from my supply. and it sits inside the loop terminal. My second SDI to the second switch is connected to the active terminal in the light fitting, because that's going to act as the switching mechanism. So with my switches, now what I need to do is I take my first switch and I put the SDI, number one, that's my active, that goes into my common. Then with my twins or my straps, what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect one cable to terminal 1 and one cable to terminal 2. Which way you do it, it doesn't really matter. I generally put the white into terminal 1. It's just a habit. It makes no difference. As long as when I do my second switch, I match it up exactly the same. So I will wire this in to the common. There goes my permanent active. And then I'm going to wire my straps into terminal 1 and terminal 2. On switch number 2, I'm going to wire it exactly the same as I've just done for switch number 1, making sure that your straps, whichever color you chose to go into terminal 1, has to be the same. If you get it the wrong way around, the two-way switching won't work for you. So in this case, I've used white into terminal 1, so at switch number 2, my white goes into terminal 1. Now the reason I do this is a bit of a habit, but I like to do it because if I'm doing a standard switch, then I'm always putting the active into the common and the switch into number 1. So if I keep that idea flowing, then when I do my two-way switching, it always looks the same and it's much easier and you're less likely to ever make a mistake. So let's put that on. Now, at this point, my second switch has a piece of plastic over the top of terminal 2. So what I have to do is I have to take my screwdriver, jam it into the plastic, move it around a bit. That'll break the plastic free so I can use terminal 2. If I don't have a brand new switch, that may have already been removed. And if you're unsure which terminal is which, then you can use your multimeter, put it onto continuity, and put it between the common and the terminal, and flick the switch to see when it turns on. If the switch is in the on position and it beeps, then you know you are in terminal 1. If it is in the off position and it beeps, you know you're in terminal 2. So I'm going to take that plastic out, connect that up, and then it'll be done. And there we go. That's it. Wired up. 2 switches, 1 light. So if we had more than 1 light fitting that was hooked up to this, then what we would do is we would take the active, or we would take the SDI, which is being used as a switch wire from switch number 2, and we'd put that at the end of the circuit into the light fitting. Then from that point, we would then use a 3-core twin and earth, and we would basically daisy chain all the lights backwards. So we go neutral and earth, and the active would be twisted together with this cable coming up, and then loops into each light fitting backwardly. Like you would with if you were hooking up GPOs, you just daisy chain them all together. And what that allows it to happen is the active, permanent active sits in the loop here. The switched active runs down through your switch, through the 2 switches, feeds back the other way, and loops all the way back through the lights, and then it will work for you. And that's it. I'll see you next time.